and welcome to my channel. Last year I saved $15,000 and I'm here to tell you how you can do that too. A couple months ago I made a video about all the money mistakes you should avoid in your 20s, and all of y'all seem to really like that video and have been asking for more finance videos and tips on saving money, etc. So I'm here with another one, but make sure you've watched that video before you watch this one. I'm gonna be linking it up here. So I'm here today with my matcha and my glasses and my cardigan set, looking like Madam President over here, so you take me seriously. Actually, I'm gonna take these glasses off because they're reflecting everything and it's kind of distracting, but you get the point, right? Now, before I get into this video, make sure you have a cup of coffee and a book and a pen or something else to take notes on, because you want to pay attention to this. Make sure to smash the like button down below and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And with that, here's the top 10 saving tips that will help you save a lot of money in 2021. My number one tip, if you don't do this already, is to budget. This is basically the foundation of being financially conscious and knowing where your money is going. I will insert a picture of my spreadsheet up here. I have modified it for 2021 and I literally have divided all of my expenses and put it into my own categories, and I know where every single dollar of my money goes. And understanding where my money is going is important because I can always adjust my spending if I know exactly where it is going. You may be paying for more subscriptions than you need just because they go to your credit card and you never bother to check your expenses or put them down somewhere or budget in some way. And that's how these subscriptions, they get you. You cannot let this happen to you. Start budgeting if you don't already. Tip number 2 is a continuation of budgeting. For those of you that do not like manually budgeting, you think making a spreadsheet and adding everything manually is too much for you, don't worry, because a lot of apps exist that do this budgeting for you. What you have to do is literally link them to your bank account. Before I started doing this whole spreadsheet method, I was using this app called Mint. What Mint does is track your spending automatically. You link your bank account to it, you link your credit cards, and it tracks your spending and divides it up into different categories based on where you're spending your money. And at the end of the month, you can go ahead and see what categories were your high spending ones, what were your low spending ones. You can also see like pie charts, which I think are super helpful in seeing what chunk of your money is going where. And I think my most favorite thing on Mint was that you can always set up limits. You can always say, hey, I pay $800 in rent every month, so make that my limit. And hey, I pay $200 in utilities every month, make that my limit. And then if certain months your utilities go up to $300, Mint will send you a notification and say you've overspent on your utilities category this month. So what this does is help you immediately know where your money is going and if you've overspent. And you can, based on that, adjust your spending in other categories if you still want to hit your savings or budgeting goal of the month. Another really cool app, and this is not really a budgeting app, but I know about this because I hear about it so much on YouTube and elsewhere, is the Acorns app. And if you're into investing in the stock market and stuff like that, what Acorns does is round off every purchase you make and invest the difference in cents into the stock market for you. So say you made a transaction for $1.75. What Acorns will do is round it off to $2 and invest the 25 cents to your investing account, which I think is really great because small amounts really do add up. And if you think about how many transactions you make in a month, that really does add up. So even though it may be slow, it's better than not saving anything or not investing anything at all. Tip number 3 is to set up direct deposits to your savings account from your checking account every time you know you're about to get a paycheck, or at least once a month. If you do budget, then you know that you have a certain savings goal for every month. Let's say mine is $1,000. What I will do is, since I get paid bi-weekly, I will set up a $500 direct deposit to my checking account every time I know I'm gonna get a paycheck. So if my paycheck hits on the 15th, for the 15th, I will have a $500 direct deposit already set up to my savings account. That way, I'm not even seeing that money before it goes into my savings account, which is great because first off, you're not earning any interest on it when you can. And second off, the more money you see, the more your mind tells you that you have money to spend. So if you really don't even see the money to begin with, then it's easier subconsciously to just not think about it and already have it go to your savings account directly. Tip number 4 is to always rent below your means. If you do not live at home with your parents, then chances are you're probably living by yourself or with roommates, but in either case, you are paying rent. I cannot even tell you, so many people I know spend obscene amounts of money on rent. Now, one reason for this is because New York City is essentially one of the most expensive places in the world to rent, but still there's always means to bring your rent down. For example, you can always have roommates until you can afford not to. Now, one rule that is very popular says you should be spending a maximum of 30% of your income before taxes towards rent. I personally do not agree with this rule because everyone's circumstances are different, and if you live in an expensive city like New York, chances are that your taxes are gonna be a massive chunk of your paycheck, which leaves your take-home or net income much lesser than your gross income. And so what you could do is try to calculate how much money you're gonna make after you've paid off everything in taxes, and based on that money that is actually gonna come into your bank account, decide what kind of rent you wanna be paying. Now, I don't wanna give you a percentage because I think everyone's situations vary and everyone's commitments vary and everyone's goals on how much they wanna save also varies. Try and get roommates. It really cuts down your living expenses, even if you live with just one or two other people. If you hate living with roommates and you want to live by yourself, then consider living further off from the expensive areas in the city. For example, in New York, Manhattan is the most expensive area and people want to stay here mainly because it's more fun, but also because a lot of people work in Manhattan. But if you want to save some money, get more space, typically live in areas like Brooklyn and Queens and in New Jersey and elsewhere, which I have done too, and it really cuts down your rent into close to half of what you'd be paying if you lived in Manhattan in a prime real estate area. Talking about rent brings me to tip number 5, which is cook at home more often than you already do. If you're someone who loves cooking and enjoys it and does it consistently, then that's really amazing for you, because going out and eating or getting takeout on a repeated regular basis drains so much of your money, and before you know it, you've spent over $500 on going out with friends, going out for drinks and dinner, or getting takeout. Now, I know it's unrealistic. Everyone wants to go out with friends and have fun or go out on the weekends. I would totally recommend doing that. That is important. It's important to have fun. It's important to have a social life and all of that. But make sure you are not falling into this trap of getting takeout on a regular basis. One thing that can help is budgeting. Again, budgeting how much of your monthly income you want to put towards going out, socializing and things like that, and how much of it do you want towards groceries. And maybe test it out. Maybe 1 month just go out a lot, just get a lot of takeout, and at the end of the month calculate our expenses, versus 1 month try and cook at home at least 4 to 5 days a week and maybe get takeout on the other 2 or 3 days, and then calculate how much that is at the end of the month and compare the differences. You'd be surprised. Tip number 7, avoid blowing huge chunks of money on shopping. I personally don't understand how people can spend $200, $300, $400, $500 on just clothes and buying maybe like a couple of luxury items every single month, because at the end of the year, even like $300 to $400 every month adds up. A minimum of $3,500 to $4,000, which, if you think about it, to shop is a lot of money in my opinion. Everyone's likes differ, everyone's shopping habits differ. Some people might just like buying expensive sustainable brands, some people might buy a lot of fast fashion. So I'm not going to tell you what you should and what you shouldn't buy, but always consciously know how much money you're spending on shopping, and if you've budgeted for it. I know I keep coming back to budgeting, but I just cannot tell you how important it is to have pre-decided how much money you will be spending on each category so that you can control your impulses, because we all know that impulsive shopping is particularly dangerous for your bank account. So if you know you are going to be spending say $400 or $500 this month because it's Christmas and you're going to be buying a lot of gifts and shop for yourself and stuff like that, then you've at least budgeted for that in advance, and it's not like a spur of the moment, decision or expense, which I think informs your saving decisions and your saving goals much better. I personally think a lot before I go ahead and buy something. What I always think about is the return on investment. I don't do this if I'm buying like maybe a top or a jeans or something small like that. Say I'm going to buy a camera, which is $700. I'm going to be thinking about the return on investment and how much it's going to help me, because that way I'm getting a lot of use out of my camera and in future even a return on my investment. So always make sure if you're buying something big or spending a lot of money to do a little bit of thinking and think about what the ROI is for you. Tip number 7, don't max out your credit card so that you can avoid paying interest on your purchases. In my money mistakes video, I mentioned that I think it's important to get a credit card because first off, you needed to build your credit, but second off, it also helps you rack up all these benefits and like points and rewards and stuff that you can use to travel and, you know, redeem for gifts or redeem for products and things like that. But I also think getting a credit card can be dangerous for some people, especially if you're not really financially disciplined, because you might have like a $10,000 spending limit, but that doesn't mean you should go ahead and spend everything. My philosophy is to always treat credit card as my bank. I would literally treat it as this is how much money I have in my account and this is how much I can spend. So if I do not have more than $1,000 in my bank account, I will not make more than $1,000 in credit card purchases. I always pay off my credit cards at the end of each month, no matter what, even if my credit card does not have interest on it, because I think this builds discipline and this builds restraint and self-control when it comes to money. But if some months you have more expenses than the other and you want to max out your credit card for the points and the rewards, then go ahead and do that. But make sure you don't let that snowball and, you know, turn into this huge like credit card debt that you will end up paying a very, very high interest rate on. Tip number 8 is to not let present bias overshadow what you want for your future self. Now, let me spend some time here and explain to you what present bias actually means. I read the book The Defining Decade by Meg Jay, and that's where I came across this concept of present bias. It's a tendency to settle for a smaller present reward than to wait for a longer future reward. To simply put this, let me give you an example. I'm in my 20s and it's very easy for me to go out every single weekend and spend hundreds of dollars every weekend if I wanted to, because I'm having fun and that is my short-term reward. I'm having fun, I'm making friends, I'm socializing, I'm experiencing New York City, which is all great, but I'm only looking at my present or short-term rewards versus putting away money in a savings account, in an investment account, in a pension account or 401k or anything like that for my future self to enjoy. Meg Jay in her book says that a lot of 20-somethings have present bias where they only value short-term benefits, but as they move up and, you know, get older, they start to realize that maybe they could have done better, maybe they could have saved more for their older self to have been able to retire earlier or to have been able to take a break in the career and just travel for a little bit. In her book, she also mentions a study conducted where 50% of 20-somethings were shown a virtual reality image of them 50 years older versus the other 50% who weren't. And it so happened that the 50% that saw their old selves started saving double the amount that the counterparts were saving, which means that we are sometimes unable to see or unable to think long term, which affects our current decisions, especially with money and finances. And so if you're conscious of that present bias, you will probably not let it get to you, and you will also start thinking long term about your older self and start being more financially conscious and start putting away more money for later. Tip number 9 is to make more money. The best way to save more money is to actually make more money, and looking at money from a scarcity mindset is much worse than when you're looking at it from an abundance mindset. So your goal should always be to increase your income. Another thing I want to add here is always try to diversify your income sources. Don't just depend on one source of income. For example, don't just depend on your full-time job for your income, because you don't know what's going to happen. Especially last year, because of all that happened, a lot of people ended up losing their jobs, and people that did not have other sources of income were really in a bad position because they were unable to, you know, pay off any of their expenses or their commitments. So if you diversify your income, you're not going to have that problem. You're always going to have something to fall back on, no matter how small or big that is. Especially if you're younger, if maybe you're 20-something or even you're in your 30s, the options of diversifying your income are much better, because you are typically younger and sharper and typically just better at learning new skills, and also because you have less commitments as a 20-something than as someone who's 40 years old, so you have more time to diversify your income, to work on side hustles, to maybe work longer hours if you need to. My last and final money saving tip for 2021 is to avoid lifestyle creep. And I said this in my money mistakes video. And if you don't really know what lifestyle creep is, let me put it simply for you. It typically just means that you up your standard of living as your income increases. So say you get like a 15% hike because you changed your job or you got a promotion. A lot of people, what they'll do is try to upgrade their apartment, try to buy more stuff, try to maybe move into a fancier or bigger place when they might not really need to. So your fixed expenses and things you've bought and things you've committed to have gone up to a certain level that now feels like a necessity versus a luxury. So that's what lifestyle creep is. It is just your perception of what necessity versus luxury is changing as you make more money. But what you can do is avoid lifestyle creep. Even though your income increases, staying within your means or staying below your means and putting that extra money that came from a promotion or from a job change towards saving more or towards investing more. If you always lived in a studio and were comfortable with it, don't just upgrade to living in a 1-bedroom just because you can afford it. And with that, we have reached the end of this video. I am almost done with my matcha, as you can see. I hope you took some notes. I hope you will apply this because I don't want you to just see this video and then go and change nothing. I hope this video inspires you to make a change in your financial habits in whatever little way possible. If this video helped you and you found some value from it, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to my channel. And also let me know what other personal finance related videos you'd like to see, because I love talking about money. I love talking about financial independence, financial responsibility, financial consciousness. I love all of that. So let me know what other video you want me to make in the comments below, and I will see you in my next one. Bye!